this morning we're going to look at a second value, this one, be at one, and introduce a practice called watch yourself. Watch yourself. So we're going to move into the choose your own main point portion of this morning, where I'm going to read 4 quotes, and I will tell you this, the main point that I'm trying to get across is somewhere in these quotes. Find it for you. If you need a main point, some of us don't need a main point. For some of us, it's very helpful. If you need a main point, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you will recognize it. And when you do, keep it. This is my compromise. Simone Weil. We cure our faults by attention, not by our will. Attention, taken to the highest degree, is the same thing as prayer. Absolutely unmixed attention is prayer. It's T.S. Eliot. Teach us to care and not to care. Teach us to sit still. Second Corinthians 13. Examine yourselves. Watch yourself. Take a long and honest look at what you think you believe about who you think that you are. Do not look away until you see the face of Christ reflected back to you. This is the test. Do not look away. And here's a little poem called Clearing. Do not try to save the whole world or do anything grandiose. Instead, create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait there patiently until the song that is your life falls into your own cupped hands and you recognize and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world so worthy of rescue. Do not try to save the whole world or do anything grandiose. Okay, cool. Got your main point? You ready? Got it? Hold on tight. Here we go. Jesus, Joshua, Yeshua, as far as we can tell, was an actual person who lived a couple thousand years ago. He was not the founder of Christianity. If you just take a look at his life and words, it really doesn't seem like he was trying to start a new religion. He wasn't the first Christian. He came from a tradition, a religious tradition, that he was not only deeply rooted in, but so in love with or concerned for that he risked his life and actually lost it in an attempt to reform his own tradition. So we're a couple thousand years away from the man and his words, and I don't know how many of us grew up in this room observant Jews. There may be more of us than I would guess, but for most of us, we didn't. And so what we have to be mindful of is living in the waning years of the Christian empire. We've all been influenced by ideas about Christianity that, for a whole variety of reasons that I don't know, don't have time to try to figure out, have kind of separated Jesus, the man, the historical figure, from the tradition that he was a part of. And if we want to truly follow in the way of the Master, then it seems wise to have some kind of understanding of the tradition that he came from and continued to communicate from. And so in the language of Jesus' native tradition, Judaism, there are at least 5 different words for what gets translated in our Bibles as prayer. And in the Hebrew scriptures, tefillah, which we've talked about this before, it's the most commonly repeated, it's the most often used word for prayer, far and away. It's like 3 times more than the other 4 words combined, tefillah. And if you look through this little translation maze that I've made here for us, we see that when you get down to the root of the word, tefillah, prayer, means to judge oneself. And so for Jesus, the tradition he came from, there's a recognition that learning to observe ourselves is prayer. It's this prayer of self-evaluation. Okay, yeah, go to that next slide. This was always this was probably my least favorite Bible verse for most of my life. I thought, pray without ceasing. I can barely get started. Yeah, and there's something about observing prayer as the tefillah, this self-observation as it's like a movable prayer. What this prayer is like this focused attention, and when we're consistently paying attention to ourselves, then this is maybe a helpful place for this ongoing conversation with God, to where we are working on the illusion of separateness, where God is out here, over there, somewhere. It's this invitation to observe our life together. And it's wild what changes in observation. So prayer is approached as a practice of attentiveness and awareness has helped me, at least, make peace with Paul's imperative that we pray without ceasing. It's made it actually feasible, but definitely not comfortable. When Jesus' disciples came to him one time and asked him to teach them how to pray, in Matthew's gospel, Jesus is recorded as responding, "As for you, when you pray, go into your inner room. Close your door, same word for opportunity. And pray to your Father who's in secret." You don't have to heap up empty phrases. For your Father knows what you need before you ever even ask. I think it's normal and even healthy at certain times to approach prayer as in a discursive way. It's kind of like a conversation where God is something like a friend or a divine therapist. Like a safe place to air our grievances and maybe begin to experience something like solidarity, feel understood. But if we aren't careful, we can stall out in this stage, and the most potentially life-altering practice that we can engage with is prayer. Can become just another place to hide from the truth of ourselves beneath a firewall of questions and complaints and requests. This is how the ancient Hebrew poet David described this practice of prayer. We'll just pause after this for a moment. We'll pause, and then anyone can reflect what you'd like. This is Psalm 139. David said, "Reveal, O God. Reveal my innermost being. Test me and disclose my anxious thoughts. Show me the idols that I've made of my suffering, and lead me always along the way everlasting." This Hebrew word for idol there, it's a funny word. It only appears a handful of times, and it can be translated as idol, and it can be translated as suffering. So it's a little poetic turn of phrase to reveal that we do indeed make idols out of our suffering. Have you noticed this about yourself? You have any little internal monuments to the things that you've been through. Light a candle before it every morning. Feel haunted by it. And David's approach to this reality is to invite and to welcome an honest reckoning. Reveal, help me to see my innermost being, the truth of who I am, the truth of who you are, somehow is shrouded or clouded by all of these other habits and ideas and thought loops and emotions and biological inherited patterns and wants and desires. It's like a snow globe that's all stirred up. You shake it good enough and you can't see the little village that's down at the center of the globe anymore. And the only thing that can help us to see clearly what's actually within us is to become still enough to allow it all to settle. So, watch yourself. That's the practice. Become familiar with the things you're attracted to and the things that you loathe. Those are really good indicators. The stronger the desire towards or away is a pretty good place to recognize that you're stuck. The impulses and the patterns and the self-identification shortcuts. I remember I had an existential crisis in my closet one time because I was flipping through all my band t-shirts and I was like, what? You are really determined to make sure that people know that you are an indie rock music fan. I mean, really, and it kind of just like spun out from there. I'm like, I have to be more than just a bundle of preferences, right? Just a bouncing bundle of preferences. Another really good place to notice from is the built-in defense mechanisms, when someone pokes you in a way that immediately triggers the alarm. And all logic and reason go out the window, and there's nothing to do but talk until you see it my way. You know that? So this kind of prayer is risky business unless it's undertaken from the perspective of God. Does that sound crazy? Unless we somehow can undertake this work from God's perspective and not just from ours, then all watching ourselves will do is trigger this deeply felt and heavily conditioned impulse to self-loathing, to judge ourselves harshly. There's a reason that our psyche has developed a remarkably effective coping mechanism that we call self-deception. There's a reason that we've been able to or have had the experience of these things being hidden from our conscious awareness for a really long time. Because to come into contact with our shadow material is to risk the full collapse of our self-perception and potentially the entire life that we built around it. Yeah, you may notice that when you go to take a look inside, it does seem that there are just all kinds of things trying to keep us from that practice. Things inside and things around us. And then there's the evidence of actually practicing this and discovering how much it hurts to uncover some things inside of ourselves that we first truly thought weren't there, and then really hoped weren't there, and then thought, how do I get this out of here? And then the benefit, right, is that it can help us, it's humbling, and it can help with some of this self-delusion. And so what do we do then if and when this does stir up some experience of self-loathing, do you ever get somewhere and you think, I've gone too far to go back where I was, and I'm so uncomfortable where I am that I don't want to learn the lesson anymore, and I can't quite tell where I'm going. You ever been there? You know, the wasteland, the stuck between stations, fuzz on the AM radio. It's like the goo, the caterpillar is just goo. He don't get in there and just get some wings installed. It's full system meltdown. Yeah, transformation begins with acceptance. And life just seems to keep presenting opportunities for us to be tested in this way and to see how much of what is happening can I accept. And can I accept myself in my inability to accept what I feel like I should be accepting? I really do think that part of the point of this prayer is to lead us to the place of self-collapse. I think that if we look at the life of Jesus and his core teachings, he does point to this being the path, the only way forward. The only way to resurrection is through death. There's no shortcuts. You can't tunnel underneath the cross. It says, whoever clings to their life exactly as it is will lose that very life. But if you let it go, then you'll have it forever. It's real and eternal. St. Paul said, if you live only to satisfy what's temporary nature, then you're just going to lose everything, because it's the ultimate statistic. 1 out of 1 die. So tend only to what's temporary and you'll lose everything. But if by the Spirit you put to death these urges, then you'll come to life. And what does it mean that the heart of Jesus paradigm can be summarized not in a declaration of triumph, but in this whimper that's not my will, but yours be done? Surrender. The key verse said, examine yourselves, see if you're in the faith. And if we are indeed in the faith, then we should expect that everything in life will finally go smoothly. That's a sales pitch. If we're truly in the faith, then we should expect that our life should in some way resemble Jesus, who for the joy set before him endured the cross and said to each and every one of us that would hope to follow, pick up your cross daily, surrender, follow me, become like me. Which means to welcome in whatever way we can circumstances, situations, and internal recognition events that break the will. Through the cracks in the will, there begins to arrive what the scriptures call the mind of Christ. So central to Christianity is the notion that Jesus is the image of the invisible God, in whom the fullness of God was pleased to dwell in bodily form. So if we want to know what God is like, Christianity says, then we should look to Jesus. So as we go about the challenging work of spying on ourselves, and we begin to encounter the things about ourselves that are scandalous enough to be hidden from our conscious awareness, we may naturally begin to judge ourselves harshly. And so we must consistently remind ourselves until we actually begin to see, to know, to feel, that though we may judge ourselves harshly, Christ judges no one. See with Christ, see through Christ, and cultivate what's been called an attentive indifference, or a compassionate awareness. Watch yourself. Truly see yourself, as much of yourself as you can handle. and love anyway. I have a quick epilogue, all right? This little epilogue is called Ah, Sweet Solitude. I can't tell if that cave is his imagination, like where Yoda sends Luke, or something that he's actually fleeing. This is St. Anthony. He's probably the most famous of the desert mothers and fathers who were Christian monastics who lived in the 3rd and 4th centuries. And when Rome adopted Christianity as the state empire, most of the long persecuted Christians rejoiced, except for the desert fathers and mothers who thought this is not a good sign, and they got out of town and went to the desert. And they founded these tiny monastic communities in extremely harsh and remote conditions. And they viewed solitude as a means to extricate themselves from a decadent state's constant barrage of distractions. Does that sound familiar? You ever wish you could just crawl in a cave for a little while? It's election season. If ever we felt this, it should be now. Well, okay, hold on. Here's a plot twist. What they quickly discovered in solitary places was that the inner life was every bit as noisy and distracting as the cities that they'd fled. And in solitude, you can go to that next one, the interior thought loops that had gone largely unnoticed in the busyness of the town square was brought into awareness and was discovered to be actually the source of all of life's anxieties. It's an inside job. This feedback loop, it's always looking outside of itself for validation, for security, for peace, for God. Ah, sweet solitude. And they left for us, these ancient Christians, something of a spiritual roadmap that we could follow. And so I'm going to close with that roadmap. But first, a fun fact. Next slide. Did you know that the same Greek word pathos means passion, strong feeling, emotion, also suffering? Emotion equals suffering. Here's the roadmap through. These would be sort of the core tenets of desert spirituality. Apatheia, hesychia, agape. It's Proverbs 1. Those who listen wholeheartedly, Shema. Those who continuously listen, dwell in safety and live at ease, without the fear of evil. And the Desert Fathers, Evagrius translated it this way: the one who has dispassion, apatheia, lives in stillness, hesychia, without the fear that's produced by troubling thoughts. Apatheia means passionlessness, neutrality, freedom from the passions. Hesychia is the state of rest, the stillness of heart, where the soul and God are one. And agape is the free and conscious choice to love regardless of cost. This style of prayer is meant to reveal that the only barrier between ourselves and God is our pathological attachment to the stories that we tell ourselves about our separateness, and our passionate attempts to heal a wound that isn't actually real. Prayer is the place where we learn to stop running and finally face the wound. Prayer is where we learn to take responsibility for the damage that's been done through our thoughts and our actions, and anything that originated from this place of wounding. Prayer is where we learn to accept and forgive ourselves and our circumstances and God, and ultimately to forgive reality for being what it is. And this actually is agape love. I always thought agape love had more of like a 1968 Summer of Love thing. Like it's this universal love that we tap into that's unchanging, and it isn't what agape actually is. Agape love is conscious love. Agape love means basically I've considered all the facts and I'm still voting yes. Having considered the facts and in the freedom of Christ, choosing to dispassionately love all of it.
I forgive my father, for I know now no one knows what they are doing. And God is just the universe, patiently reworking what we ruin. Human nature bends its ear and turns its back against the fears that tend to underwrite our questions. Circle in the suspension. Are we born just to die? And left the whole time wondering why the world is full of suffering. What makes it all worthwhile? Are we given just to take? Has it been a big mistake? 'Cause if someone made up all of this, I wanna ask them why. I forgive my mother, for I know now every vanity is a promise. Spirit is the lifelong dirty work of learning to be honest. The infant whines and takes the nip. Into the wheel of death she slips. No wonder then we always start off crying. All together too tired of trying. Are we born just to die? And left the whole time wondering why the world is full of suffering. What makes it all worthwhile? And are we given just to take? Has it been a big mistake? 'Cause if someone made up all of this, I wanna ask them why would you call us out to walk upon the water and fill the sea with monsters and waves? Praise the God who listens. Praise the God who saves. Praise the God who listens. Praise the God who saves. I forgive myself, for I know now that desire burns down slowly. And time's a cosmic river that we measure to make sense of where we're going. All of our collected egos grit their teeth and beg for freedom subtly. in the form of our discomfort, until we learn the point is loving one another. We'll be born just to die and spend our small lives wondering why we cause each other's suffering. What makes it all worthwhile? Are we giving just to take? Has it been a big mistake? 'Cause if someone made up all of this, I'd wanna ask them why. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul.
You are welcome to hang here for as long as you'd like, as always. If you got kids, you should probably go pick them up. They're a bit understaffed back there this morning. Stay as long as you'd like. Leave when you feel it's time, and when you do go, do so in the peace of our Lord. Love y'all. Later.